Well, this has turned into a kind of a mess. So I went in and I polished the aluminum parts, which is the valve covers, the spark plug wire dividers, and the air cleaner lid. And this is chrome plated steel, so I didn't have to polish on it. And then after everything's polished with Mother's Mag aluminum polish, I had to go back with some wax and grease remover on a new microfiber rag and wipe everything down to get all the Mother's Mag aluminum polish out, all the crevices of everything, and try to ensure that the tape sticks. The problem is this tape here seems to be the only one that kind of sticks, and it still is not sticking that great. So thankfully I had quite an array of tape there to try. So I really wanted to use the the 3M fine line tape, because when paint goes up against the edge of this vinyl, it has a really nice edge to it. You don't get as fine of an edge with this. This is just basically masking tape. So anyway, the vinyl tape doesn't stick for crap. Like, you stick it on there and burnish it on, and it just peels right off. So it would have, like when I was spraying that, the air pressure would probably just blow it loose. So it would have been a huge nightmare. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and try to use this to get up close, and then hopefully this blue will stick to the majority of the parts to mask off the biggest part of them. So I have these stencils. These are the centers inserts. If you buy a stencil for your Chevrolet scripted valve covers, it comes with an outer and an inner together, and you can use either one. So when I airbrush the valve cover Chevrolet script on my hardtops valve covers, I use the outer, and I save these inners. And I'm glad I did, because they look like they're mostly going to work here. Mostly. Not really, but kind of. So I will have to do some add-ons in there with some tape, like at the end of the T and the L and on the R and stuff and the H. But anyway, I don't even know if these are going to stick to this yet. I'll have to try that. But man, what a mess. This is kind of turned into I thought it was going to be something kind of fun to do, but it's quickly went away when I tried this yesterday. So it's a new day. I'm going to try again. But I estimated anywhere from 2 to 3 hours to do this, and as usual, that's why I don't flat rate jobs, is because I always shoot myself in the foot. So I spent about an hour yesterday polishing all the aluminum parts, and then wiping them all down, and then going back and trying to mask them off the first time. So yesterday, when I did that, it was just a load of frustration, and I gave up and put up shop. So we'll see what today brings. It's supposed to be 60 degrees today. I'd love to paint this stuff, but it all depends on if the masking tape will stick. If I have issues with stuff not sticking, I'm done. I'm not going to paint this stuff, because I don't need to have the hassle of spending all the hours going in here and masking this off only for the tape to come loose in the painting process. This is not a matter of, spray painting a valve cover black like the old Mickey Thompson valve covers. I remember painting a pair when I was younger. I spray painted them black, and then I went back with a rag with lacquer thinner and just wiped off the top fins. You can't do that when you're doing urethane finishes, automotive finishes. So I've got to use etching primer, then I've got to use the copper base coat, and then I've got to use clear, and it all comes out of a paint gun. So it's not a matter of painting all that and then wiping it off. It don't work that way when you got 3 different colors of paint on there. So in this case, everything has to be masked. If you did try to go in there and wipe all that off, or even one thing at a time, you're going to have areas that it's not going to be the exact same when you wipe it on the second go around. And if you try to wipe off, you've sprayed all 3 and then you went back and tried to wipe it off, so the lower layers are going to be really, really dried out, and you're going to have to scrub really hard, and you're going to get down in the edges and take paint off. So this is not fun, so I'm going to see what I can get done. Alright guys, so I had to throw the towel in on that painting the inlays on this stuff. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to be able to do it. So I estimated anywhere between 2 and 3 hours to paint all this stuff. And that is exactly why that I don't flat rate my jobs anymore. I would lose money and I'd be working for free the last little bit of stuff. So anyway, it is going to take way longer than that. But the problem I have is nothing is working. I've got a lot of different forces going wrong here. So to start off, I spent a lot of time already, and I went through and I repolished all the aluminum stuff. Now that master cylinder lid's chrome plated steel, or I think it's cast, but it's chrome plated. But I went through and I polished the valve covers, and I polished the air cleaner lid, and these spark plug wire divider tops. These actually unscrew off the top of those, which makes it kind of nice if you wanted to paint them. But anyway, I polished all that. Now, I'm using Mother's Mag and aluminum polish, and there's no way that I could just wipe those off with the final rag and then go in and put tape on there. It's not going to stick. So I had to go back with a microfiber with some wax and grease remover, which is actually Prep-All right here. This is usually what I use to wipe everything down with. The reason I say usually is sometimes I don't use Prep-All. I use the one from O'Reilly's, but I'm out of that one. Anyway, I wiped everything down so the tape would have a better chance of sticking, but it dulled the aluminum back out, like it took the high shine out of it again. So that was kind of strike one for me. And then I got down here, and this was actually the first thing I tried to mask off was this. And I wanted to use this 3M tape. And if you haven't ever bought this, yeah. So this is very, very expensive stuff. Anyway, this is vinyl tape. This is used for graphics. And the reason that I like this stuff is because it gives a super crisp edge, man. Like a nice edge. You know, usually our standard old masking tape, when you pull it, you have a little bit of a ripply, little rough edge to it. This stuff doesn't do that. So I've used this stuff for decades. I love this stuff. That won't stick to that polished aluminum. Like I would set it down there and I'd burnish it on, and then it'd just fall right back off. Like this stuff won't stick to this stuff for nothing. And I'm pretty sure I wiped this off really good. You know, I used a brand new microfiber rag and wiped it down. So then I went through and I grabbed this old stuff, which I'm kind of worried about. It's been in there for a couple of years, and it didn't stick anyway either. So then I found this, and this is basically just green masking tape, but it is the thin stuff. So I went in and I'm trying to put this tape up here to this edge, and I can't see the edge of this, man. So the problem I'm having is it's so shiny that the light is tricking my eyes, and I think my eyes are trying to go crossed. But you know, I don't know that my $7 reading glasses from Dollar General are having any effect on this at all. That's a joke, by the way. No, for real. These are $7 at Dollar General. These are not prescription, because I can't see crap up close. But I am having trouble getting this tape on the very edge of that. So what I did was I unplugged my lights up here, which are these big long lights. It unplugs those. This one here is on a switch. So I left that one on, so it made it kind of dark in here. And that didn't work either. So then I went outside and tried it, and it was just like it is in here with all the lights on, so it didn't work. And then after I finally got one strip of tape stuck, I tried pulling the edge a little bit, and I'm like, hey, this actually might work, but it was a wonky edge. Now, when you're trying to do a straight line with this stuff, what you generally do is you stick one end right on that edge, and then you lift up and you kind of pull a little bit of tension and then set it down. And that tension is usually what makes that line straight. So once I got it up there and I burnished it with my finger, it was pulling back together from stretching it to make it tight and straight. It took a little bit of time, like a couple minutes, and it was pulling back together, and then it just was letting go. So anyway, this has turned into a nightmare. But I'm giving up, and I can't do it. I'm not physically capable of doing this. It's been a long time since I've had my butt kicked by a car. But it's just the way it is, man. I estimated on the estimation for this job about 3 hours, and I can tell you, between polishing all that aluminum and then wiping it all back down, then going back and trying to mask all this stuff off, it's not going to work. But this was what this is another thing that really kind of done me in. So these are stencils, and when you buy these stencils from the Tri-5 suppliers, these are for your original style valve covers, and you get an outer stencil and an inner, but it comes together and you basically have to peel one or the other off, and it's for this style of valve cover. So these were very, very close to these aftermarket aluminum ones. I was just going to have to go in and touch up the ends a little bit with some little pieces of tape. These don't stick for crap to that. So I stuck it down on there, burnished it on, and it just was falling off there. I noticed an edge lifted up, and when I touched it, it just moved over. So these won't even work. So at this point, the stencil won't work, which would save a ton of time. I would have to go in here and put masking tape on here, wide tape, and go back in here with an exacto knife and cut every bit of that Chevrolet script out by hand, both of them. And this blue painter's tape that I get, it ain't worth a crap. It's doing the same thing. It's not sticking. So I just have to throw in the towel. I got too much going against me at this point. So, I mean, it really kind of sucks. It really, really sucks. But it is what it is. I mean, I can't do anything with it. So I just went ahead and bolted the valve covers back on. And I put that valve cover, or spark plug wire divider top back on. I'm getting ready to put this other one on. So, man. I'm so frustrated. I'm to the point where I'm thinking I probably ought to just pull my 55 back in here and turn the lights out and call it a day, because when I get frustrated, it's not good for me to go on. It's always best for me to just kind of chill out, relax, you know, and then try again tomorrow. But there's so much work to still be done on this car, and I'm so ready for this car to leave. So I've just got to go on it, you know what I mean? But anyway, I think what I'm going to go ahead and do after I get all this stuff bolted back on and clean up my mess here, I think I'm going to undo this box to where it folds way open, and I'm going to lay it in the floor, and I'm going to go ahead and pull the core support and everything off the frame, and I'm going to go ahead and re-drill the holes and notch stuff and try to get that radiator fitting closer and the lower and the fan shroud fitting tighter, and try to get that bulb seal stuff all set up on there. So that's going to be a pretty big job in itself right there, but dang it. I'm bummed, guys. I really am. It's just not going to work for me. I'm having trouble with what I have here. And, you know, if I got to drive to the paint store to go get some special masking tape or something, it's not going to work. And I do want to remind some of you guys that are thinking this, that you could just paint the valve covers and then go in and wipe the fins off. The valve covers, I've got to do etching primer first. And then when the etching primer dries, I have to go in with a gray Scotch-Brite and lightly scuff that. And I'm afraid that gray Scotch-Brite is just going to move that tape off there. So if I did the etching primer, I'd have to go in with lacquer thinner on a rag and wipe them fins, and then go back and do this base coat out of the spray gun, which I'm going to use a mini touch-up gun with low PSI. I'd have to do the base, then that would have to flash off a couple of coats of that, have to flash. Then I have to put the clear on. And, you know, I'd either have to wipe in between every color, but the problem is you're never going to get the exact same spot wiped off. And this stuff's a lot thicker than just spray paint. Like, I remember painting a pair of Mickey Thompson valve covers when I was a kid, like 18, 19 years old. I spray painted them black, and I went in and polished the fins and everything. I painted the whole thing black, and then I took lacquer thinner on an old t-shirt, wrapped around a sanding block, and I went across that. And it looked pretty good, but that's just one coat, you know, of spray paint. This is not 3 heavy, you know, urethane automotive finishes on there. So it's just, I'm over it. You can't just wipe that off. And at the end of the day, the other side of it is, this is the only one that's set up like this with tall fins. This other stuff is ball milled. This is actually not even correct for what you should have in a way. You have fin stuff, and then you have ball milled, and these are two different things. Ball milled means it goes in. So anyway, these are milled out, and you know, can you imagine going in here and having to tape all that off? Because you ain't wiping that. Your rag would get down on that edge, and if you did just get one edge, if you did all 3 colors and tried to go in there and wipe that, you may come up and leave a little edge of black from the black etching primer, because that's the only color etching primer I have. So This is a fail. This is just, I'm not doing it. Is what it boils down to. I'm not spending the hours of aggravation, because I know even if I spent the more than enough time on that and tried to get this all prepped, I'm afraid the masking is going to come loose. And I mean, I could probably go in there and airbrush this stuff in, because that would be super, super low air pressure, and I'd have to thin stuff way, way down. But if that masking moves or paint gets under there, at that point it's paint correction. And I'm just not interested in more frustration, you know what I mean? So hopefully I over-explained that, but I've got many forces working against me, but at this point it's 52-year-old eyeballs trying to look through $7 reading glasses trying to mask off ball milled stuff, you know what I mean? It's not gonna happen. I hate getting my butt whooped by something. It just gets through me, man. I've always looked at these old cars of, when I go in and do something, I kind of don't take no for an answer. I kind of try to get something done, because I'm not the guy that can afford to have somebody do something for me. I usually have to do it all myself. So to get my butt kicked by that painting stuff, it really, I painted since I was 16 years old, man. So I didn't think I was going to have any problems with that. And no doubt it could probably be accomplished, but it's not going to be accomplished by me in 3 hours. So, sorry. They're just going to have to stay raw, finished like they are. Anyway, that's enough for a little bit of an update video. Thanks for watching.